Okay, so for those of you who don't know, 2016 was kind of a rough year for me. An infection, 2 surgeries, a blood clot. If you want to know more, I got a vlog all about it. But suffice it to say, the fact that I even got any panels done last year was amazing. And that's only because my cousin was nice enough to take me to ConnectiCon. I only went on Saturday. I only went 3 days. And I spent the whole time with a colostomy bag, which I thankfully do not have anymore. But it's kind of led to some problems. Mainly in this video here, because usually when I get ready for a convention, I set the camera up with all the settings that it needs to be so I can properly cover the convention, switch back and forth between walking around and panels and everything else. And for obvious reasons, I really did not think to do that before this convention, and it kind of come back to bite me in this panel because I had to stop the recording a couple of times to fix the audio settings, and I also didn't even have sound for the first minute or so of footage. So I'm sorry about all that. Kind of out of my control. But these 3 panels, the next 2 of which are just fine, really are probably going to be my last panels for a while until I start getting some income again. Then I would love to go back to ConnectiCon and Comic-Con and Terrific-Con and all the other conventions that are out there. Well, we'll see what happens on that front. Only time will tell. And of course, because I spent so much of last year in recovery, that meant that it's only till now, between recovery and just being too hot to do much of anything in this room over the summer, this is when I finally got to review these 2 panels, or these 3 panels, from ConnectiCon 2016. I still have a bit of footage from 2015 I haven't edited yet. That's how my situation's been lately. So, that means that all the information, of course, about Star Trek Discovery is outdated. Some of the video game information you probably already know about, but there's still a lot of interesting information left in this fan panel. It's Star Trek 50 and Beyond, which is about the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. Now, we'll continue to Star Trek 1 on our next panel, where we'll actually be seeing a Q&A with Michael Dorn and Nana Visitor from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this fan panel. Sorry for the audio for the first few minutes, because it took 3 tries and I had to stop the recording twice in order to adjust the proper settings. But I hope you still find some interesting information in this and still enjoy it. And then we'll see you for the next 2 panels.
here. That's the fourth Star Trek movie, everybody. That's the fourth Star Trek movie, I'm sorry. Paramount said they let me know, but they told me not to tell anybody. I couldn't resist anymore.
Actually,
people had to know.
That could still happen because nothing in the events of the new timeline says that probe's not showing up.
Yeah, no, everything that happens prior to 2233 still happens. Beeger getting launched. Beeger is still coming. The cetacean probe is still coming. I don't know if they're going to deal with those in the movies. Obviously, we're still 20 years away from most of those things happening.
Okay, so anybody else want to talk about the movies? Okay, so we're going to move on. How many people here play Star Trek Online? Yeah. So they know, if you haven't played it, it used to play on the PC, and a lot of fun. It's just ready for this past Wednesday, the third full expansion, and celebration of the 50th anniversary. It's called Agents of Yesterday. And it's pretty good. I don't have to get into the tutorial or anything. But it's a lot of fun. Basically, in addition to some regular missions for standard 26th century, you get to play as a 23rd century go back to the original series and play a campaign as the era of the original series.
You get to ride around in some of these original series ships, interiors, costumes, weapons, all of that. The great storyline. And it also stars Walter Koenig as Chekhov. He comes back to voice the character Chekhov for this. He's here today, by the way. So he's here, and he's great. Chris Doohan, the son of the late, great James Doohan, if you remember from Star Trek Continues, if you watch that, he voices Scotty. He takes on his father's role as Scotty in this as well. Scotty in that picture. But it's really a lot of fun. And if, all right, show of hands, how many of you are not members of the PC Master Race? Meaning you don't play computer games. You don't play on the PC. All right, good chunk of you. I have a solution for you. This fall, Star Trek Online is launching on Xbox One and PS4. And so all 6 years of content that they've developed is going down into one disc. Yeah. What? I think October and November. So, November, yeah. Yeah, it's time for Christmas, so if you ask the Easter Bunny, he might put it in your stocking for Christmas. But yeah, so Star Trek Online is coming. How many people don't know anything about Star Trek Online? It's got a shotguns. All right, for those of you who don't know, Star Trek Online is a great, awesome game. It's set in the original timeline, but it's set after the Opus supernova that sends Spock and Nero back in time. So it's in the original timeline after those two go back in time. And it deals a lot with the fallout from the destruction of Romulus. There's a great campaign you could play called Legacy of Romulus, where you get to take on the role of a Romulan survivor 30 years after the supernova. And you get to go on a great adventure with them, trying to found a free Romulan society. Yep.
Last time I played Star Trek Online was when they were still released.
Yeah, it's not gameplay anymore.
How does it hold up in comparison? Because I remember its visual incarnation.
It's come a long way, and they've gone back. They've actually remastered a lot of the old missions. Like a lot of the original missions from when it was free to play aren't there anymore, with the exception of the feature ones. They went back and they basically condensed it down. So you get to play, instead of like 4 30-minute missions, you get like a whole hour-long mission with full voice casting and everything. And they've gotten a lot of former Star Trek actors. Just example, Denise Crosby voices Empress Sela. Sela's gotten a bit of a promotion since The Next Generation. She's now Empress of the surviving Romulan government after Romulus gets destroyed. Tim Russ is here as Admiral Tuvok. Tuvok gets a promotion. Garrett Wang plays Captain Harry Kim. Zachary Quinto is actually in this. He voices like the EMH Mark 12 or something. He's the EMH. I know there's a hand in the back there.
Michael Dorn, he's downstairs.
Michael Dorn is downstairs. Michael Dorn's not in Star Trek Online yet.
Yes, he is.
Oh yes, he was. He was Ambassador Bourne.
Yeah. He's the proper contact if you choose to make an officer of the Klingon Empire.
Yep. Awesome. And there was a question up in the wig right there, in the glasses, looking the other way.
Oh, right.
You had a question?
A couple of questions. First about the game itself. When
Yeah.
the Xbox One, PS4 versions come out, are they going to be cross-platform with PC?
I don't know yet.
They're not,
They're not.
because they are unable to release updates at the same time for PC and console, which you get.
Makes sense. We're going to get there eventually. Be patient. That's coming. That's coming. The game community is working on it. They got a whole room and have just bags of people at computers, and then there's one person with a whip. Make them compatible. Like that. That's in Silicon Valley, California. It's a dungeon in Silicon Valley where that's happening. So, you had another question?
Yeah, my second question, if the series took place after the supernova that involved Spock and Nero and the destruction of Romulus, how were the characters from Voyager able to mitigate the resistance? How was that explained? I didn't get your point.
How they got into it?
Yeah.
They were already back in the Alpha Quadrant.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, Voyager, in timeline, Voyager returned in the year 2378, 7 years after they disappeared. And Star Trek Nemesis takes place in 2379. And the Phobos supernova takes place in 2386. This game is set in the year 2409. So it's several years after, many years after this happens. And like I said, a lot of Voyager characters. The Doctor, 709 is in it, and it's really great. Yeah.
Did they ever give an explanation as to how the star suddenly went up?
Yes.
The star was going
That I won't give too much away. That was not an accident. That was an intended event. Somebody did that. And part of the mission you have to discover is who's behind it and why they did it. So that is something you get to investigate. Phobos was not an accident. The creation of the whole alternate timeline, that was not an accident. Somebody intended for that to happen. And it'll surprise you when you realize who's responsible. I won't give it away, but there's a whole great adventure. Like I said, great story. The writing in this is fantastic. You know, you'll find that a lot of these missions are sequels to old plot lines from Star Trek. It's just fantastic. I recommend it completely. Yeah.
It's also, I think Paramount considers this game canon. Like
I'm not sure if they do. Paramount's official point that has been for the past decades is the television shows and the movies are canon. And although they license games and everything, they don't officially incorporate it. But, like I said, the writers of this do so well with the canon. They make it seem like this is canon. I consider this personally to be canon until I'm told otherwise. Because it's really, really written very well. But yeah, so like I said, a lot of great content in here. A lot of great actors came back to voice old characters. Yeah.
They just added additions in the Abrams verse too.
Yes, they did. We get to in honor of the 50th anniversary. Agents of Yesterday does include a mission in the J.J. Abrams verse. We get to go to the alternate timeline for the first time and see, what happened when Spock and Nero went back in time. And yes, you can pilot the alternate reality Enterprise. Unfortunately, that's in a paid lockbox, so which is basically how they raise money. When they went free to play, they developed a system called lockboxes. Lockboxes are loot that are dropped by enemies. But in order to open it, you have to buy a key with actual money. And inside, you can get like premium loot, like cool weapons, bridge officers, and of course the big prize of starships. So there's all kinds of, you can tool around in any kind of ship in here. And you can mix match parts and customize. It's really a lot of fun. Yeah.
How necessary is it to the story to unlock?
Unnecessary at all. That's just to enhance your own personal gameplay. You can tool around in a shuttlecraft and play the campaign. I don't think you'll get, it won't be easy to do it in shuttle, but you could do it if you wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, like how you said, like you go like from like the original TOS timeline to the ultimate timeline, like what? Is there a side discrepancy between the ships? Because I heard, I know, like Dan theory say like that, like new Enterprise in the movie?
I haven't gotten a chance to encounter one yet. Like I said, I've only played the first mission of Agents of Yesterday, so I haven't gotten to that point yet. So I don't know. Technically, the Alternate Reality Constitution is classified as a Tier 6 ship. That's the highest tier. And those are usually, on average, the largest ships. Like, for instance, that one over there, that's an Odyssey-class ship. And that's the new Enterprise in this timeline. There's an Enterprise F, and that's the Enterprise F. And that was actually designed by somebody who plays the game. They held a contest to design the next Enterprise. And so that's actually a fan design right there. That's not from the company at all. So that guy, his design won, and they rendered it in the game to be the Odyssey-class starship. And the second Odyssey-class ship was the Enterprise F. So, and Captain's a pretty cool guy. I won't tell you who he is, but he's a pretty cool guy. Any other questions on Star Trek Online? Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any crossovers with eras? Like, can you have Next Generation era fight original series era?
Yeah, you can. You can play the original Enterprise in the game. That one you have to pay for, but it's a starter ship too. But you can tool around in the original Constitution class ship. You can wear an original series uniform. You can get an original series phaser, Next Generation ship. I personally tool around in the what's called the Galaxy X Dreadnought. That's the 3 nacelle phaser cannon version from the series finale of Next Generation. That's my personal ship right there. And yes, it does have a cloaking device. It's come in handy a lot, I'll tell you. But yeah, any other questions, comments on Star Trek Online? Yeah. Yes, there is a whole Tribble mission that deals with, again, another example of how they write missions with sequels to old plot lines. It's a sequel to Trials and Tribulations, dealing with them bringing back a Tribble and repopulating the species in the 24th century. So there's a whole, you get to go to the Tribble Sanctuary, and the Klingons show up, and they're not too happy that there's a whole planet of Tribbles out there. So you got to save the Tribbles from the Klingons. Yeah. And Tribbles, you can collect Tribbles, you can use Tribbles, and they have certain effects. So the Tribbles are actually loot in the game.
Yeah, and if you have like a Tribble in the inventory and I these slots, as you go around for a while, they start multiplying.
Yeah, don't keep food in your inventory with a Tribble. The Tribble, I kid you not, they will eat it. They will eat the food in your inventory and multiply. So you'll have like Romulan ale and then 1 Tribble, and you'll go back, you'll realize there's no ale and there's 10 Tribbles. So it's not. There's even Borg Tribbles too. There's a Tribble of Borg. Yeah. The Borg show up. There's plenty of Borg. Yeah. You can even play as a Borg if you want a liberated Borg. Yeah. So any other Star Trek Online comments? Any questions? Yep. Yep. You have one? Is Q in it? John Delancey Q is not in it. His son, on the other hand, is showing up and causing some problems for you. Actually, if you come back in December and you play the game, Q has a winter wonderland that he will teleport you to. And you can make snow Klingons, and there are Breen. You can win a Breen ship and drive around. You can fight giant mutant snowmen with a snowball. I'm not joking right now. This is legit. Q creates this, and you can go. It's called the Q's Winter Wonderland, and you can win Q points to spend on premium items. So, yeah, Q is in here. Q is a bit of a character. Q will occasionally show up on double EXP weekends too. He'll be in a teleporting chair on one of the 3 main planets. He'll have a couple of dancing Gorn. And you can go talk to him. He'll occasionally turn you into something, like a creature. So if you piss him off, it's a lot of fun. So yeah. So Q is in it. Yeah. Anybody else? Anything? Okay, so we're going to move on to something everybody's been, I'm sure, excited about. The CBS series coming in January. So. Show of hands, how many people kind of melted in their chair, when the announcement came in. I was at work, so I had to, a little bit more decorum. But that was ecstatic. This again has come through. Star Trek is coming back, and in a big way. For those unaware, it's coming 13 episodes, starting in January. and they're going to be streaming online on CBS's streaming service called All Access. And it does cost like $5 a month, but in addition to Star Trek, you're directly paying to help produce the Star Trek. And there's no ratings. You don't have to worry about the ratings anymore. No more Nielsen system. Take the Nielsen system and just like shoot it. You don't have to worry about it anymore, because we'll be paying direct. So I encourage people, please subscribe to All Access directly. Do it that way, because not only are you getting Star Trek, how many people like NCIS? You get all the NCIS episodes, all of them. Madam Secretary for Taya Leone, you get that one too, all of those. I would say Supergirl, she's moving on up in the world, somewhere else. Is CSI still on? CSI, yeah, you can get those too. But yes.
The first episode of the new series is going to air on TV, so
yes.
If you want to use that as your litmus test, go for it.
Yep, and you get a free month of All Access, so if you sign up, you get 1 month free. So, yeah.
Wait, so it's only streaming?
It's only streaming through CBS All Access. The pilot, the 2-hour pilot, will air on CBS.
You know which date?
Sometime in January. That's all I know so far. And, yeah. If it's on All Access, then it's probably exclusive to All Access, so I don't think Hulu gets it yet. So All Access is the way to go. But like I said, $5 a month gets you not only Star Trek, but all the other CBS shows if you watch it. Yeah.
Where is it?
It is. We know that it's. Let me just go to the next slide. So this is what we know. This is all the information we got so far. It will be set in the prime timeline because they said it's not connect. They haven't explicitly said it's going to be set in the prime timeline, but they've said it's not connecting to any of the new movies. So we can infer from that it will be in the prime timeline. 13 episodes, but it's going to be in arc format. So, you know, if anybody watches, you know, any modern show now, it's all about one story arc per season, one big story arc. So that's what we're going to get.
Kind of like DS9, but that got like...
Something like that, but it was a little more loose, especially in the beginning of the series. You know, the Dominion War arc really wasn't fleshed out until it turned into a shooting war. But it's going to be one big arc. We don't know, you know, where exactly in the prime time it's going to be set. Rumors have it between the events of Star Trek VI and Star Trek: The Next Generation.
People are actually said that wasn't true.
Really?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so we could actually get our post-Dominion War arc. You know, anybody's wondering what that, we could get that. But what we know, again, Brian Fuller. Anybody watch Hannibal? Yeah, showrunner for Hannibal. But he got his start in television on Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So this is a guy who, you know, got his start on Star Trek. So this is not some guy they found. This is a Star Trek guy. And joining him, Alex Kurtzman, who helped make the past 2 new Star Trek films. Nicholas Meyer, the writer and director of Star Trek II and Star Trek VI, is on board. Rod Roddenberry, son of the late Gene Roddenberry, is on board as executive producer. So they've got like one hell of a creative team behind us on that. I was really impressed with them. Like, oh, who are they going to get? Are they just going to pull, is Les Moonves just going to pull some CBS chump out of his hat and put him in charge? No, they know what they're doing. They got guys that know what they are doing here. And it's going to be the first Star Trek series to film outside the United States. It's going to Toronto, because Toronto offers up mucho tax credits for television production. There's a brand new studio right there with a big sound stage they've taken over. So we're looking at pretty cool sets for this. So again, it's in Toronto, which is not far from here. If you want to go break into the set, it's down by the waterfront. It's like an old industrial park.
What's the code to the door?
1701. Didn't hear that.
4 or 5.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my luggage. Yep. All hail Screw. All right. Any other questions, comments on the new series? Anything at all? Go.
Any casting rumors yet? Or?
Nothing yet. The biggest rumors that I've heard so far for Captain are Angela Bassett and Nathan Fillion. Yeah. Those are rumors. Those are rumors. Please do not take those at face value. Those are just the biggest rumors because, as we all know, Nathan Fillion parted, what's that show he was on? Are you sure that was called like Serenity or something? One of those ones. I don't know. It got canceled. So yeah. So he's departing yet another canceled show. So maybe we can poach him to be the new captain. Angela Bassett. That rumor came from Brian Fuller because people asked him, who. This was years ago. Who he would like to see as a Star Trek captain. He said Angela Bassett. So I think she'd be great as a Star Trek captain. I think it's about time for another female captain and another person of color as captain. So why not do both at the same time? So maybe we can get her. Maybe. But yes, that's all we know in the casting department. They are going to cast pretty soon because they're starting to film in the fall. So they've got to. I imagine they're looking, but nothing concrete yet, unfortunately. Anybody else? Question, comment about the new series? Yeah.
Did you know that the casting is going to be completely gender and color blind? Like, so they don't have any cast openings that we're looking for a 40-year-old woman.
Yeah, I think they're just looking for who might be the best fit for the characters that they're writing, whatever they may be. All right, anybody else? Anything? Nothing? Okay, so we're going to move on, and we still got plenty of time left, which is good, because I saved the most controversial part for last, unfortunately. Fan films. Yeah, fan films. Just some examples of the many fan films that have been made over the years. Some of the big ones. Of Gods and Men stars Walter Koenig. Who's here? At the convention. Yeah. Star Trek New Voyages, which also had Walter Koenig. Who's here? Another one, Hidden Frontier. These are ones from way back in the 2000s, if anybody remembers that decade. These are people doing it in the garage on green screen with a bunch of replica costumes and props. But they produce some pretty good stuff. Odyssey's pretty good. It's sort of like a Voyager to the extreme adventure. But a lot of good fan films. But in the last year, there's been one that has stood out, both for quality and the controversy that it generated, and that is Axanar. So if anybody's unfamiliar, Prelude to Axanar is a brief 20-minute fan film that's portrayed as an in-universe documentary covering what was called the 4 Years' War. And that was a border conflict between the Federation and the Klingons before Kirk's time. And it chronicles the build-up. It's like the part 4 of a 4-part series, so we're only getting part of the story. And it details the war between the Federation and the Klingons on their common border that led to the creation of the Ares-class starship, which you see here, which was captained by a guy by the name of Kelvar Garth, otherwise known as Garth of Izar, who was a character in the original series episode and basically Kirk's idol. He was Kirk before there was a Kirk, essentially. Although I will contend Archer probably got more action than Garth. So. No, he didn't. I do not believe the Ares blows up. So, but it was a really great. Alec Peters, who's the writer-producer who plays Garth in this film, really put together a fantastic product. It's free on YouTube. It's got a couple million hits. I definitely recommend it. I don't have time to show it, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would. But if you got 20 minutes tonight, especially if you look for something to do after curfew at 9 o'clock, you can go watch this on YouTube. Yeah, it's only like 20, 25 minutes at most. So real quick, but fantastic. And it features ships from the Abrams-verse designs that presumably existed in both timelines. Some of those ships show up. There's plenty of good space battles. The visual effects are fantastic. And the casting. Just some ideas of casting. J.G. Hertzler, who played General Martok. He plays a Starfleet admiral in this one. Tony Todd, a very known actor in Star Trek and beyond, plays another admiral called Ramirez. Kate Vernon from Battlestar Galactica, she plays a Starfleet captain, and one of the best person they could have gotten. Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica plays the main Klingon villain in this. Yeah, see the jaw was dropped. Yeah, Richard Hatch is in this movie. He plays a Klingon warlord who starts the war between the Federation. So yeah. It depends on like, I don't know, like, because this is a documentary, so like all of the characters are being interviewed after the fact, like a retrospective documentary. So his character does have ridges, but they're not very pronounced. So maybe he was early on in the attempt to restore the ridges there. Yeah.
Where was it filmed?
It was filmed a couple of years ago, mostly in California, I believe. And it was a lot of work to put it online. And they did, and they got such a good response, they decided to try and make Axanar a full-blown movie. And it got shut down. They raised necessary funding on Kickstarter to make the movie, and then CBS filed a lawsuit. And, no, that's not it. Hang on, I gotta go back. Yeah. Okay, let me, it's in here somewhere. I'll talk about the lawsuit in a little bit, but they filed a lawsuit against Axanar, doing copyright infringement. So they claim copyright infringement. And right now it's not really moving through the court, but I'll get to that in a minute. But as a result of this, the studio, and again, this is not, keep in mind, this is not J.J. Abrams, this is not Brian Fuller, this is not their doing. This is the CBS higher-ups, this is Moonves, this is the lawyers, these are the money, these are the people who want money. They issued new guidelines regarding fandom. These are the guidelines in their entirety. I'm sorry I couldn't blow it up anymore, but these are the guidelines in their entirety. But basically, some of the things that are very controversial. The first rule, fan productions can't be more than 15 minutes in length, or more than 2 episodes for a total of 30. So what that does is that kills Axanar, which was planned to be a 2-hour movie. It kills Star Trek New Voyages, which is a series. It kills Star Trek Continues, which is a series. They can't use the name Star Trek. So it's now just Continues, which it would be. They also can't use any characters. So Dick, what's his face, can't be Captain Kirk anymore. So it's Continues, and it's a bridge, but there's nobody on it now. That's basically what's happening here. If they're going to raise money, they can't raise more than $50,000. They can't put out a DVD or a Blu-ray. It's crazy. It's insane, and it stifles almost every fan production that has come and that is still going on. Yeah.
Wait, so why they want to stop this one, but why didn't they stop the other one?
They wanted to stop Axanar because it raised a boatload of money for Kickstarter. And, they were concerned. I mean, it's a legitimate concern if you have a copyright, somebody is raising a lot of money, you're concerned, well, who gets the money? Is this going to read? I don't think Alec Peters is compensating himself with the Kickstarter money. I think they have to pay some of the actors, especially people like Hatch and J.G. Hertzler, who's got to come all the way from upstate New York out to California to film this. That kind of makes sense. You got to pay your crew and everything. But some fan productions will run entirely volunteer and donations. They don't get any kind of profit. Continues, for instance, none of the actors pay themselves. They do this, freely out of it. They built a whole bridge, a whole set in a warehouse somewhere to do this, and they don't get money off of this. They make it just to entertain us fans. That's why they do it. But CBS is not having any of that, and unfortunately, they own the copyright now, so it's kind of difficult to deal with this. But it's crazy. But one of the other crazy things in here is that they're basically saying that actors who have played Star Trek characters can no longer play those characters unless it's for CBS. So what that does is Gary Graham, who played Sobal, he's in Axanar. He can't re-portray Sobal anymore because it's a fan production. And that really sucks, too. Another example, Star Trek Renegades, which is a pretty cool series set also after the Hova supernova that deals with this renegade crew that has to go beyond Starfleet authority to investigate an alien threat. For their second episode, they recruited a lot of people. They recruited Robert Beltran to come play Chakotay again. They got Nichelle Nichols to come back as Uhura. They got Terry Farrell to somehow come back as Dax. It was going to be explained, but then these fan production rules came out. Yes, thank you. And then all of a sudden, Star Trek Renegades became Renegades the series with all Star Trek stuff removed. And they already produced a pilot episode with Star Trek related stuff. And they raised money on Kickstarter too. So now it's become an original show. All the names are being changed. and everything, all the Star Trek background, everybody's communicator pins are gone. Yeah.
Is it Tim Russ that was in charge?
Tim Russ, yeah, Tim Russ. This is Tim Russ's project.
And is he also countersuing CBS's movies?
I'm not sure if he is countersuing yet, so I don't know that yet. But Tim Russ was going to place Tuvok, who's now head of Section 31 in this. Now he can't be Tuvok anymore. And unfortunately, you know, with these productions, they were scheduled to go just 2 weeks ago. They've been filming for the past 2 weeks. They were scheduled to do that. And so, you know, and then the fan guidelines came out, and I think it was timed, especially because Renegades announced when they were going to film, and they wanted to basically stifle that before they started. And so, you know, Renegades got together, and they're like, you know, we've got all this money, we've got all these people, we've got all this set, you know, why not continue anyway? So I can admire that, but it sucks because all the backers, you know, on Pixar basically paid for a Star Trek. And they're basically getting cheated out, not through the producer's fault, but because, you know, they're afraid of CBS. You know, I mean, Alec Peters is fighting them in court right now, but not everybody can do that. You know, Star Trek continues. I don't think they could fund a legal battle for that long. But I do recommend the pilot episode of Renegades. It stars Walter Koenig, who's here. He's here. But yes, Walter Koenig, at least in the pilot, played Admiral Chekhov, who's head of Starfleet intelligence. He's doing like some little like CIA level stuff going on here. Cut somebody's hand off. Yeah.
Actually, in the Walter today, yesterday, he said now they're just referring to the character as the Russian.
The Russian? All right, well now this is really getting into some CIA level stuff. Admiral Russian. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Section 31, who's supposed to be in charge of?
In the Renegades continuity, yeah, Tuvok has taken over Section 31. So Tuvok is running Section 31 now. He was pretty good in the pilot episode, at least. Yeah. So yeah. So again, you know, yeah, it all comes back. Star Trek continues. I mentioned before, pretty good series. Some recognizable faces. Granny Mahar from Ghostbusters is, sorry, no, Mythbusters. I'm getting my Busters confused right now. Or Mythbusters, yeah. Well, he got fired from the show, basically. So he was like, you know, I might as well go be Sulu for a little while. He's also in Star Trek Renegades. He plays a character in Renegades. But Star Trek continues. You know, Vic, I forget his last name. Vignana, you know. I have a little nickname for him that I won't say out loud. You know, you know, I don't agree very much with him, but on this issue, we are very much united with how fan productions are getting screwed over. He hasn't said whether or not Star Trek Continues is capable of continuing yet, because they're sitting back and watching the lawsuit. Any other fan production, or people even thinking of making a fan production, has got to sit back and watch this stupid lawsuit pay out. This is the law. This is a legit legal document. This is a, you know, complaint for copyright infringement, contributory copyright infringement, vicarious copyright infringement, and declaratory judgment. So this is what CBS is complaining against Axonar Productions and Alec Peters. So this is the lawsuit that's going to decide what happens to fan productions. Yeah.
Take us off Star Trek.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what's happening with the Beast Wars fan production? Is it getting sued or anything? There's one going on right now. It's like Mad Spark.
Anybody know anything about Beast Wars? No. Bueller? 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 Okay. No.
I've never heard. Are you talking about Transformers?
Well, speaking of CBS, here's an NCIS person. You should buy CBS All Access for $4.95 a month. I was totally not paid to say that.
There is one exception to the whole fan rule, though. Evidently, fan audio productions are not being held to the same thing
Really?
as the fan films.
Yeah.
So if you listen to any
Well, I like Doctor Who
audio
audiobooks, so I guess I can go with the Star Trek audiobook.
Well, you've got like Star Trek Outposts.
Yeah.
I think they're almost 60 episodes. They release one every month or two.
We will take our fight to the airwaves. Yeah.
Actually, that's because FCC clears video and audio two separate divisions.
Yeah.
And CBS only has
Oh, I love the
control.
FCC.
Yeah. CBS.
Anybody could read my lips. F the FCC. Yeah. Or we could go to satellite like Howard Stern. Go in there. Speaking of Howard Stern, anybody know George Takei is on the Howard Stern show? It's hilarious. Oh my god. They played the greatest, just to digress with it, they played the greatest prank on him a couple of times. They made him thought he was talking to Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was saying some questionable things. Takei bought it. They took him in a room, and a cast member pretended to come out of the closet to him, and George Takei bought it. It's great. I love the pranks they play George Takei. Yeah.
I haven't seen it heard these fan questions. Do you know if current they out there something to hold down this lawsuit?
I don't know. I haven't gone through and checked. I know Continues has all.
I think on a podcast they said they're not going to go retroactive.
I would hope that they can't go. There's legal arguments against going after the fact and everything. If CBS tried to go after some of the ones that come before Star Trek Odyssey, Star Trek Voyages, for instance, they would run into potential countersuit. Yeah.
My only thought to that is I hear a lot about copyrights and going after copyrights in video games because I'm a big video game person. And one of the things they talk about is the reason they keep jumping after these things is because if they don't attack them, it damages their IP. But these fan films, as you say, are going back to 2000, so there's over a decade of history.
Some even go back.
These fan films existing, that should be legal precedence alone to make CBS's case a pain in the ass.
I mean, CBS has only held the copyright, I think, since 2006 or 7.
It's joint copyright, they own it.
I know they don't know the power. They have the television rights exclusively. That's all them. So like television related things, which is why again, one of the things they list in this lawsuit is the character of Sobal, played by Gary Graham. They list that as copyright. They actually claim to have copyrighted the Klingon language. Yeah. So get that straight. Les Moonves claims he owns Klingon. That's what's going on here. So this, like I said, this lawsuit is going to decide it. And J.J. Abrams did say that CBS was going to drop the lawsuit. We now know that that is a lie because they have now motioned in court to dismiss the lawsuit. And I think the presence of the fan guidelines is a sign that they're basically saying, we either fight this to the end or you settle with us, Alec Peters, because we're not going to take it anymore.
Well, basically, Abrams apologized for that because that was what Paramount told him to say.
Don't knock J.J. Abrams because he said the lawsuit was going to be dismissed because obviously they lied to him. And they made him look like an idiot in front of all the Star Trek fans. Alec Peters was there in the audience too. He basically looked at Peters and was like,
Yeah, they specifically invited him there to hear it.
Yeah.
Wow. At the end of the day, CBS really gave that much of a damn about it. Then why did they make their fans really wait almost a decade before they did anything?
Exactly. Again, this is all crowdsourcing. Is partially to blame. The ability to crowdsource. Yeah, in the back. I
don't remember who it is, but I know you were talking about the Klingon language. There's actually a group right now trying to get Klingon declared an official language, because you can't talk around an official language.
Yeah, I don't know what bearing that will have on the court case, unfortunately. I'm not a lawyer. I do have an interest in legal matters, but I'm not a lawyer, so I can't do all the mumbo jumbo. Yeah.
Supposedly Klingons could be on Duolingo in August.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. We get Klingon language coming down the pipeline. Anybody else? Question about the lawsuit fan films? Yeah.
What kind of bearing would that have on, because I know there's a metal band called Stobacore who performs in Klingon.
It depends on, again, the lawsuit. If CBS's argument wins the day, then yeah, they hold the rights to the Klingon language, essentially. And anybody using the Klingon language will have to pay up to Moonves or get out of business. So, yeah. Anybody else? Anything? Okay. So that's really the last thing I wanted to talk about. So here are the plugs. My plugs, personal. If you like me and you want to see me again at the convention, I'm hoping to run a Doctor Who trivia game at 2 o'clock in Bogart, which is just down the hall. If you want to see me again, personally, I wouldn't mind if you always want to come say hi to me. I'm going to all of these conventions coming up, and you can follow me on Twitter. And before everybody runs, can we get all the Star Trek cosplayers up front for a group photo real quick? However many there are left. Everybody's got places to be. I gotta go run a Doctor Who photo shoot immediately after this, and I gotta change. I can't beam down. I gotta regenerate.
In case we got